I just wanted to share something real quick about how God can do something very special with something as simple as a cooler. We was blessed enough to have one donated to our trip last year, Fisher's Bend 2014, and we used the Yeti Cooler to put in a drawing to try to entice our guides that we met on the river that day to come back and be a part of our Saturday night worship service. We had printed up tickets and everything, and when our attendees that were on the fishing trip went out to spend the day with their guides, we've always had a habit of sharing our testimonies with the guides, witnessing to them. Some of these fellas spend every day of their life on the river, and that's what they do. That's how they make their living, is taking people around and showing them how to fish and helping them fish. Some of them may never ever see uh, the inside of a church, but we've always invited them to come back to our worship service. And in the past, we've had one come. Um, but this year, 2014, we was able to have a Yeti Cooler. And we told them, if you will bring this ticket to our Saturday evening service, um, just enjoy a meal with us, listen to the music, listen to the word, the testimonies that Chris and Daniel were given, you can win this $400 Yeti Cooler. Well, we had 5 men, 5 guides that chose to come and be a part of that. When the service was over, before we ever got to the drawing of the cooler, 2 of those guides had rededicated their lives to Christ, and it was just a very special time. And the funny thing is, there was one of the guides that rededicated. He had to leave prior to us drawing for the cooler, because when we drew the names out to the Yeti Cooler, he wasn't there. We kept calling and calling his name, and he didn't come forward. And somebody said that he had to leave. Well, we had made a stipulation that you had to be present to win. Well, this gentleman had sat through a 3-hour service that we had that night, with the meal and the fellowship and the music and the word and the testimony and altar call and everything. It lasted about 3 hours, and he had sat through all of it, but just had to leave prior to us drawing his name. And I didn't feel right not letting him have it, even though we did say that you had to be present. So we had moved on, and the other guys were kind of sitting there, kind of grumbling a little bit because they had sat through this thing and their names weren't drawn. Well, and this guy that had left, he won it. But Brother Robert Reeves, owner of Reeves Propane, great sponsor of ours this last year, and as well again this year. He come up to me there while we were still, before we had finished the service, and we were fixing to get to the other door prizes that we were going to draw for. He said, Jamie, he says, how do you feel about letting, he says, can we draw another name? He said, for another cooler. He says, I don't have a cooler, but I can get one. He said, if you can draw it, and if they're okay with it, we'll draw another name, and I will go buy a cooler. He says, I want them to have another chance. I said, that sounds good. So we calmed everybody down, and I announced that we're going to make another drawing, and drew another name. And one of the other guides, actually, the funny thing is, Robert Crow, I think his name was. He's the guide that actually come the year before. It was kind of cool how that worked out. But what's even more cool, or cooler, if you will, is the fact that we had another Yeti Cooler there that was for the paid participants, the paid attendees of the trip, and we had everybody's name on these cards, and we were going to put it all in a hat. We were going to draw for all these door prizes. Well, the Yeti Cooler was the biggest door prize we were going to draw for. So I stirred it around, and I took the first name out, didn't let anybody see it. I opened the cooler, and I stuck it in there, and I shut the cooler. Well, we went on and we called all these names, give away all these other door prizes, just give everything away. And we come back to the last one, which was the Yeti Cooler, which we put the name in. And drum roll please, and we pulled it forward and we opened it up and I reached it in and I pulled out the name and I read Robert Reeves. You can't make this stuff up, man. God is so awesome, and that's how He works on this trip. It's just undeniable. It's undeniable to see how God works on this trip. Robert had, out of faith, had just decided to buy another. He was going to buy another cooler for these guys, and then the Lord blessed him with this cooler that we had already purchased here. He wanted, so he was able to turn right around and hand it to Brandon, who had won the second one. It was amazing. Mashed down and running over. That's how 2014 was. It was a special year.
Now it's death I do pay. You know